Hey guys, this is a quick video on how to keep a championship team afloat in the Premier League. Now, as you can probably guess by the title, and what means is I'm going to show you my Southampton team. I'm currently about a quarter of the way through season 3. I've guided them already through the whole of season 2. I'm going to show you how I did that now. As you know, if you watched the previous Southampton video, I got them promoted to the Premier League, and this is how we did. Now, please ignore the season 3 for a moment. As you can see, we finished 7th, which I think you'll find is very respectable. As you can see, the goal difference isn't great, -2, not that great. And obviously, we are quite a bit behind Chelsea of all teams in 6th, but some good wins. I think 53, for a new team in the Premier League coming up from the Championship is very good. Mostly similar to what Reading did a few years ago. And I think a few other teams have done it as well. And obviously, I think since gone down, I think Stoke did it. I think they've not been as good as that, but I think they certainly have proven a good team, just like the Southampton team. But usually if you get that 40 points, as you can see, Birmingham hit 40, stayed up. Wigan and Norwich had no chance, unfortunately. -70 for Norwich. That's a shocking goal difference. But yeah, you see, and so this is how I did that, and I'll also show you the current season. As you can see, we're third at the moment, just 3 points behind Man United. Don't ask me how we're doing that, but I'll show you my team then very quickly. On some of the players, the type of players you need to bring in. Now, I know Southampton are one of the better teams in the Championship, probably one of the best, maybe with the exception of West Ham, Leicester. Certainly, I'd say probably the best 3 in the Premier League. In the Championship rather. Southampton, West Ham, and Leicester, at least in terms of quality and team. But this is how I sort of got this Southampton team afloat. First one was, I haven't got rid of, he's in the reserves because he's getting on a bit now, and the goalkeeper was Kelvin Davis. I brought in 2 new keepers. One, Mark Schwarzer, who was my player of the year last year when we finished 7th. Absolutely brilliant. He was. He saved our asses so many times. Just brilliant goalkeeping performances. He is retiring at the end of the season, so that's why I brought in the 23-year-old Ben Amos, who, if I look at his history, obviously was at Man United. I think he still is at Man United in real life. I'm not too sure. But yeah, bought him for just under half £500,000, and he's not bad. He's a decent keeper, decent little young keeper. Next one is Richie Delat, who I think I've talked about before. Very good player. He can churn in a good man of the match performance. So to Kyle Norton, who I think plays for, I don't know who he plays for. QPR. Swansea, Norwich, one of the Norwich, that's the one. Yeah, Norwich is one of the 3 promoted clubs. Stephen Kelly, decent defender again. These are, as you can see, they're not all world-class players. These are all very Premier League-based players. The ones who've all got experience in the Premier League. Richie's like with Norwich, Carl Norton with Norwich, again, very Norwich-based team, as you can see here. And another one, Ryan Taylor, who I rate quite highly. I've always rated for quite some time. He just scored the winner against Newcastle at St James's Park, which was quite funny. Typical Ryan Taylor effort. Sebastian Bassong, I always recommend bringing in someone who, I don't know how you describe Bassong, but he's just, someone who's good, but not amazing. Obviously, if you can bring in an amazing player, then do. But, someone like a Bassong, I'm sure you know the type of player like a Sebastian Bassong, he's a bit of a leader, as well. That's why I think he's my captain. I'm not too sure. Actually, no, he's the vice captain. So, and then you've got bit part players around him like Shitu, Kelly, Taylor, and so on. But, you've got your main core in the defence there, and that's what Bassong is. Always buy that sort of core defender. And I had to spend a bit of money there, £3.5 million, which, let's be honest, is a bit of a steal for Bassong. But, you get the idea. And then, again, sort of similar thing in midfield here. Owen Hargreaves, Premier League experience, bit of a core middle play, like a Hargreaves, and then you build players around him like I've got here. I've got Jack Cork, Michael Kitely, a decent player, not brilliant player, but he's a decent player, and he's scored a few goals. Vladimir Weiss, he's a pretty good player actually. Weiss, Hatton Ben Arthur, another good player. Players like Schneiderlin, Cork, Lallana, and Punchin. I'll get to Punchin already here. Jason Punchin was on loan at QPR, but I did recall him, and what a decision that turned out to be. He is an absolute beast. He's his form's a bit shit at the moment, but he is very good overall still. Nico Cranchar was transfer listed, and this is what I'm talking about. Always check the transfer market. I'm surprised the amount of people who don't do this. Check the transfer. Who's transfer listed? I saw Nico Cranchar transfer listed for, well, his value was like 6 million. Tottenham didn't even want 4 million, so I ended up buying him for 3.6 million. And don't forget your youngsters as well, include them every so often. I've got Jake Sinclair, the younger brother of Scott Sinclair at Swansea. and Jack Laxton, who I'm not too sure if is real or not, but whatever. And then we have our strikers now. I've talked about Billy Sharp before. You know how good he is. He's only 27. He's really young. He's now worth 4 million. I bought him for like 1.2 million. And he was unbelievable. If you are in the Championship, if you're going to sign one player, this is the player. If you just have 1, 2, 3, 4 million to spend in the transfer window, get Billy Sharp. Doncaster will sell you him. The board will intervene because they need the money. Chances are they're going to be getting relegated, or at least be in a scrap for most of the game. So they will sell you him. And then you've got sort of older players such as Pavlyuchenko and Closer, who was actually recommended to me, like one of his agents, I think, said to me, would you like to buy him? And he was free. His wages weren't that bad at all, so I went, sure, but I'm not going to be able to register him until January now, which is a bit of an annoyance. But Daniel Sturridge was transfer listed again. We're checking the transfer list. Lee Griffiths, he's one who is endlessly talked about on FM. He's one to bring in all the time. Young player here, Laurie Della Valle. He's a decent player to finish. I think I've talked about him before as well. He's again just a bit part player, not absolutely amazing, but good young player. And obviously you got the two sort of older heads, if you will. I mean, they're only 31, but Lambert and Pavlyuchenko don't start every game, but they're happy to be here and still be playing. So that's that. But I'll show you my tactics here. It is just simply what I did with Liverpool in the first season. It is just a simple 4-4-2, very simple. Doesn't take a lot of familiarity. It's very easy. And then you've got this one here, which is a 4-2. Now a lot of people have asked me about this 4-2-3-1. It's asymmetrical. I said to my vision, it's just that, asymmetrical. And what it is, you just have regular centre back, you have a defensive midfielder, which I always, most time, depending on who the player is, I don't often go with defensive midfielder. I always either go with Anchorman. For example, I would use that with Schneiderlin, Hargreaves, and I'll show you some other players that I could have included at the moment. I've got my transfers from the previous season. You've then got centre mid, who's that is a proper centre mid. I mean, the problem is you can't actually, if I move him here, look how exposed that right side is. You know what I mean? So you have one there, and that's why it's asymmetrical, because the going to the right, if you will. I don't know why. I don't actually know what asymmetrical means, but I was always rubbish at maths. But so you got your winger and then another winger, because again, if I move him down, look how similar. I mean, you can do that, but then it's not asymmetrical. So and that's the beauty of it. That's why it's asymmetrical. You have them in these very odd places, and then you've got your attacking midfielder and then your striker. This is probably my strongest team. I'll lay out my strongest team here. I probably would have Kyle Norton. I probably would, and then I'd forgetting the international break and all that. Just ignore them for a minute, and then I'd probably have Fonte as well. I'd probably go with Norton, but Richie Delat also does play a lot as well. I rotate these a lot. Richie Delat and Fonte and Norton all do get rotated with him, and then I'll either have Fox or Taylor as my left back. Norton and Delat actually can also play there, so I've got plenty of options. But yeah, I probably would actually play Delat there. That's where he most of the time will play. But as I say, he gets rotated with Fonte sometimes, or even Bassong if he's a little tired. Then in this defensive midfield role, it's very easy for 4-4-2. I'm sure you don't need me to spell out 4-4-2. It's very easy. Defensive midfielder, I will either play here. It's not Mikel Alonso, brother of Xavi. He was good for me in the Championship, but he's not that great in the Premier League. But again, a decent signing. I'd probably go with Owen Hargreaves. He is a defensive midfielder. He's not attacking, great attacking threat, but he does score. He scores penalties and so on. So, again, a decent player to have. Centre midfield, probably going to go with Jack Cork here. He's a very good player, former Chelsea lad, I think he was. Wingers, Adam Lallana. He's amazing on this. He's a little bit injury prone, but especially at the back end of the season. But overall, again, a very good player. On the wings, I probably would go with Punchin, and then Cranshaw possibly there, although that is a new inclusion. I've also got the opportunity there to swap Punchin with Ben Arthur. I think at the moment I probably would actually have Ben Arthur because Punchin's in a bad bit of form, but as you can see, his rating isn't that great. I mean, last season it was 8.2 or something insane, and then we would have Billy Sharp up front. But I can rotate that with Closer or Griffiths, who's really hit form. As you can see, his rating's pretty good. also got Sturridge and Pavlyuchenko. I can throw any of them in there. So that's my team. Now the philosophy I rotate a bit as well. It's usually balanced, but I think I put it rigid for the last game because it was a tough Newcastle game. Newcastle are pretty decent, or they can be decent on this, but they can also be rubbish. To be honest, just like most teams, like Liverpool, Chelsea, they're very inconsistent on this. So that's my team. But if I show you the play results, the stats rather, I'll show you exactly how well these are doing. Performing in the Premier League, how they're good for me. As you can see, Billy Sharp level with Dzeko and Defoe, or not with Defoe, sorry, a goal behind Defoe, who's gone to Newcastle, who's absolutely lethal. Shamak, I'm sure that he needs to be toned down. He is far too good on this. He is nowhere near as good as this in real life. I mean, he's a decent player, but he's not that good. Come on, 10 goals, not even actually, pretty much where we are in real life 2 years forward. I don't see that happening. Sebastian Bassong with 5. He is an absolute tank at corners. I mean, he's got so many headers, it's unreal. 5, that's fantastic. Fonte is also pretty good at it. And then we do have a bit of a gap. Sturridge, I haven't played Sturridge a great deal. Kitely, again, a decent player as they get to goal zone. Hargreaves thinks scored 2 penalties. Ryan Taylor has that sweet left foot of his, and Lee Griffiths also just coming into the team for the first time. I kind of stopped him in the first season. He was kind of nervous, but I think he's settled now. And Cranshaw, unfortunately, is injured. That's why he's only got 1 goal, but Lallana as well, also very lethal. But I think that the standout thing I do want to show you for this is, and prepare your asses for this, because you will physically shit bricks when you see it. As you can see here, the first game of the season for the new season, this is season 3, as you can see, beat Tottenham 9-1. This is not a cheat, this is not a hack, this is not anything. All this was me starting up a game and going, okay lads, let's go. And bloody hell did they respond. So we had Sturridge score in the 2nd minute. Bassong scored 2. That was a technical debut goal, I suppose, because it was a debut goal for Sturridge. Bassong was on loan initially, and that's one thing I would like to say. If you do have the chance to loan players like Bassong, get them in on loan and then see if you can buy them, if you can stay afloat, that is, if he feels if to stay afloat. Kitely scored, quite fortuitous to score that one. Vice, very good goal. Fonte scored, Hargreaves scored, Sharp back on the go, Chiarte got sent off. I don't know why he's at Tottenham, but and this guy scored a consolation for Tottenham, but it's unbelievable. And I'll show you some other fixtures as well. I mean, we've had some incredible games. Look at this against Sunderland. This was 7-4. I don't know, Billy Sharp, I think he should have had a hat-trick actually. That should have been a Sharp goal. Bassong scoring again, Lallana, Sturridge, Fonte. I think you can see where this one's going, but they pulled it out. It was 5-1. It was 5-1 at half time. I was like, wow, what's going on? And then I think it was, I'm trying to think how we did this. So it went, so that it went to 6-1 with Sturridge scoring, and 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, 7-4 with Lallana. I was like, God, they're not going to pull it back, are they? As you can see, I beat Windsor 11-0. Put myself up against a load of rubbish teams. QPR 4-3. Bassong again. You can see where I'm going with this. We got battered by Arsenal, but that was I think we just didn't turn up on that day. But yeah, they were quite incredible games. But if we also go back to the last season, I mean, you will obviously don't expect to draw out or win every game. You are going to, when you come up against Man United, Arsenal. I mean, got a good point against Arsenal. We beat Liverpool 3-0. Liverpool are terrible on this sometimes. They really are poor. So Billy Sharp scored. So did Stephen DeRidder, who I got rid of, who isn't that good for me. I mean, I'm sure he might be decent for you, but he wasn't that good for me. Went in a bit of a horrible form. Billy Sharp lost all his form. Got beat by Preston. We just sort of went through a bad patch there. You will go through bad patches. You can see, again, crawling over the line pretty much. Because, I mean, look at this for a run in. Man United, Arsenal, City, Arsenal, Tottenham. Don't know why I played Arsenal. Oh, that was the League Cup final. We lost on penalties in the League Cup final. I couldn't believe it. At that point, it wasn't too bothered because we'd done enough to stay up, and but it's Man United, Arsenal, City, beat Tottenham though, which was nice. Got battered by Chelsea, did lose to Liverpool, which was disappointing, but they had found the form as they always seem to at the back end of the season. And then at that point, I wasn't too bothered, so I just put out a load of rubbish teams. I know it wasn't a rubbish team. I just wasn't too bothered. So I think I'm at holiday that because I knew we weren't going to get a Europa League spot, and I knew we weren't going to get a we're going to get relegated, so I kind of just went for that. But this is how we are currently doing in the Premier League now. They're keeping up with Man United. I do not know how we're doing that, but I think as you can see already, I think we are almost safe to fight another day in the Premier League already for next season. So, yeah, that's just my Southampton team. I think I've covered everything. There are a few players I've got rid of, such as Lee Barnett. I think it's Bernard, I think it's Barnett, I don't know how you pronounce that. Jonathan Forte and Dan Harding I'm trying to get rid of, although that isn't going that great. I think that's pretty much it. Got Man United next. That should be a good game. And yeah, so I hope you've learned something from this. To get an idea of the type of players you need to bring in. Give you not necessarily the same players, but give you an idea of the type of players you should bring in when you are. You've just got promoted from the Championship, as well as the kind of formation you need to play. Play like a mad formation, like that asymmetrical one. Just completely surprise everyone, because if you don't, I mean, sometimes you might have to mix up your formations because managers can just read you, especially good managers like a Ferguson, like a Wenger, like a Dalglish, like a Redknapp and so on. They can read formations very easily. They look back at your previous games and they'll see that you played 5 formation. Same, like 4-4-2 for 5 games, and it's like, okay, it's going to play 4-4-2. This is how we combat it, and you're just going to get battered. So it's always worth tinkering with the formation every so often. But anyway, that's going to do it from me. I hope you've learned something from this. If you did, give the video a like, and apart from that, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.